Hello, and thank you so much for joining me tonight. Tonight is Saturday Night Crafting. I hope you've got your drink with you, whatever you're having tonight, and I hope you're ready to get crafting. Tonight I have a really fun video. We're going to use some acetate. I've got this heat resistant acetate, but actually you don't need the heat resistant. I changed my mind after I got started with this and decided I didn't even need that. You can use whatever acetate you've got. Get some stamps, some stencils, and we're going to use some glue and some glitter. I have got craft glue with me. You can use tacky glue. Whatever glue you've got in your stash will probably work. I've got some ink pads. These are from Alina's shop on AliExpress. And I've got some alcohol pens, so your Sharpies, or if you've got some alcohol markers, whatever kind they are, get those out. They will work perfectly. I'm starting out with a piece of cardstock which I have measured to fit my stamp. My stamp is from Alina's shop on AliExpress. It's this beautiful floral background. I will link it down below. I'll link her ink pads down below as well. I've been having to play with them off screen and I've been enjoying them, and they're really juicy and really good quality. They are a dye ink, so I will share that link down below with you. That was my first background. I'm now moving on to my second background. I'm going quite quick because I've got a lot to cover and I have a load of samples to show you at the end. So I don't want you to be bored, so I'm kind of trying to go quite quickly. I've got my VersaFine ink, or my Versamark ink I should say, which is a sticky ink which will help with embossing. So I'm going to go ahead and emboss it in gold embossing powder. This is also from Alina's shop. It's one of my favorite embossing powders to use. She has an ultra fine embossing powder in her store and it's really good quality. So I'm going ahead and using the gold, and now I'm going to heat it up and melt it so you get this beautiful gold shine. Now I'm not going to cover too many of the things I'm doing like embossing. I'm just kind of briefly covering it tonight because the main focus is our acetate and what we're going to do with it. So for our background, we've stamped. Now I'm going to go ahead and make my own glitter paste that I'm going to use to decorate the back even more. I wanted more texture. I wanted more cool color, sort of shine to it. So I've got a clear iridescent glitter. Now, if I can find this glitter, I'll link it for you below, but I have struggled in the past because it's quite an old one. So all you want is a clear iridescent glitter. And that works great on backgrounds. It gives you a beautiful shine and shimmer without actually covering up your color in your pattern in the background. So I'm using my stencil, which is also from Alina's shop. I'm kind of using a lot of Alina products tonight because I really love them and I've been wanting to use up what I've got. And I do want to make the stencil work for my 5.5 by 5.5 piece of card, but it does leave a little kind of line where I smudged it when I shifted my stencil over. It's not actually noticeable in the end when it's all dried. But for this one, I'm going to go ahead and just do the middle. And I've covered up the sides so I don't splodge off the edge because I am terrible with that. So I've gone ahead and used the stencil just down the middle. Now I left them for about 24 hours to dry, and I did do 5 cards. So I have got 5 backgrounds to share with you. Now here's my acetate. Now the stamp I want to use as my focal images, I'm going to measure the biggest one and make sure that my acetate is just slightly bigger than that biggest image so that I can get it nice and central on my card. You'll see what I mean in a minute. So I'm going to take 3 stamps from this set. This is one of my favorite butterfly sets, which is also from Alina's shop. And I'm going to use Staz today. I did share VersaFine in the very original bit of my video, but I am switching to Staz because originally I was going to heat emboss it, which is why I wanted the heat resistant acetate, but it became such a pain and I got really discouraged. So I scrapped that and I got out my Staz, which I forgot I had. It is a stinky, stinky ink pad. It really does smell. So brace yourself for that, but it works a treat. Now what you want to do is get your little anti-static embossing powder bag out and make sure you cover that sheet of acetate, because the stamps, these are silicone stamps, but photopolymer will be even worse. They will stick to that acetate and you will not be able to pick them up with your platform. It'll be just so difficult because they'll want to stick to the acetate rather than your platform. So I put the embossing powder down, or the embossing bag down. Now I'm coming in with my little wipe, my cloth, and I'm going to clean all the powder off so there's nothing left on there. And I'm going to clean my stamps off as well and make sure there's no powder on there. Now my little mat that I've got in my stamp platform, I will link down below. It's a Jennifer Maguire trick. I've been using it for months now and it is the best. And I've just lined up my acetate sheet along with the grid lines so that I can line my stamps up right in the center of those so that I can have a nice panel that will be able to easily line up centrally on my card. I'm using Arteza alcohol pens tonight. I've got the chisel nib brush nib. These are brand new in their shop, and I've gone and got the tropical collection. They sent me these ones. I have a little collaboration with them, so they do send me some products, and they sent me the tropical with the brush nib and the normal nib, and I've been playing with them in my office, and I love them. The brush nib is very similar to what I think a Copic is like. Now, getting started, we're going to turn it over. So we have stamped on the back side now. So I have got the reverse side facing up. So I can go ahead and use my alcohol pens on the back, and they won't get marked. They won't smudge the StazOn ink, because alcohol and the StazOn are very similar, and it will kind of pull the colors around. So you want to flip your acetate over and color from the back side. Now, if you've missed any of the black out, you can fill in the black from the back as well. So if your image didn't stamp very clear, you can fill it in from the back as well. So here's that first panel. You can see there's a little bit of a line where I smudged that original stencil, but it looks all right. This is dried over 24 hours, so I came in and did it the next day, and I'm going to trim it down. So it was 5.5, and now I'm trimming it down to 5.25, and my back panel is 5 and just a notchy over that. I can't remember what it's called. So it's about 1/8 of an inch bigger. That makes sense. And now I'm going to take my alcohol pen that I used for my butterflies, and I'm going to do the border. And I did this for all my cards. Whatever the focal color was, or whatever the focal color that I wanted it to be, I use that as sort of my edge to give the appearance that I have a sheet of cardstock behind it that is matching color. Now I'm wrapping the acetate around the card and folding it over, and then doing the other edge. So I then get this nice acetate that wraps around perfectly around my card, rather than measuring and scoring it using a tool. I just use my hands. It's much quicker and easier. And I do reinforce it with my bone folder. So I do that initial fold, take it off, and then reinforce it with my bone folder to make sure I get a really good solid crease. Now I'm going to use my double-sided tape because it's really nice and sticky, and I'm going to use that to stick down my acetate so that it then is nice and stuck onto that piece of card. I find liquid glue and acetate don't mix very well. They're not very good friends. So I'm going to use my strong double-sided tape, which this is the Sukwang tape, which is also the score tape. So score tape buys it from Sukwang. If you look at score tape, it says Sukwang on it. Now, these are my stamps from Alina. Again, I'm sorry, I'm using a lot of her products because I really like them. And they all seem to go very well together. And I've got this set from her, which does come with the coordinating dies. Now, I misplaced my dies, so I thought I'm going to have to cut it out with my paper trimmer, which worked out really well because I decided actually I really wanted it to stretch all the way across that front top panel. So it does come with coordinating dies, but I chose to cut it with my paper trimmer because I lost the dies. They're somewhere in my office, I don't know where. And I really like the look of it. So sometimes there are happy mistakes and accidents, and we roll with them. So I'm going to go ahead and adhere with my double-sided tape again because it's really nice and strong. And I'm going to wrap the front panel around the back. Now I could have just trimmed off the edges, but I really wanted to wrap it around. I don't know, I was in that kind of wrapping mood. I've gone ahead and cut myself a 5.5 by 5.5 card base, which fits that back panel really nicely and gives me that 1/8 of an inch all around again. And I'm using the liquid glue this time so I can slide it into place, get it perfectly on my card. So I've then gone ahead and cut a 5.25 by 5.25 insert to go inside because obviously I don't really want to write on black cardstock. It's not going to show up so well. And so I've decided to put a little white panel on the inside. And I used black card bases for all of my cards today because it worked so nicely with that beautiful StazOn black. Now I wanted to add a little image to the inside of my card, and I will go ahead and do that on the rest of my cards, but for now I've left them all blank. I've got another ink pad from Alina's shop. Her ink pads are fantastic, but they're so funny because they have the funniest names. And the color on the box doesn't match the color that's the ink pad, but on her website it shows you the true color. So it is good. If you look on her site, it does match up, but the names are hilarious. Just have a read because some of them make me chuckle. So here's my next card that I did. I did a grey background using Alina's inks. I did the same on all of them. I used the glitter paste, the homemade glitter paste, to go behind them all. I switched up the stencil a couple times and did a couple different stencils on the back, and it's really hard to see in the video. There's some pictures coming up towards the end. This one here, I popped up the sentiments under the acetate, so it makes the acetate properly stand up off the card, and it looks really cool and kind of three-dimensional. On this one, I slipped some tulle around the whole top card base, and then I slid a strip of black down the right hand side. So the left hand side is still open on the acetate, so it kind of pops up a little bit, but that black holds it down on the right hand side because some of them I wrapped quite tight, so they kind of popped up a little bit. But you can see that glitter shining through the acetate, and it looks so pretty and so cool. And it really didn't take long to do because I didn't do much shading. You can't really shade with alcohol pens on acetate. I just kind of colored. And here on these ones, I made sure I picked two really long sentiments that stretched all the way across the acetate to kind of pin the acetate down a bit because it was getting a little bit curly. And the centers of those flowers on both of these cards, I used some silver Sharpie pens. And this is the stamps that I used for these ones. You've seen this one in some of my previous videos. I've been really enjoying the big flowers on it. They're really beautiful. So I used those 3 flowers there and kind of arrange them on the strip. So use whatever you have. I mean, you could do a masculine card if you've got some masculine stamps, and a background image like a text image or something would work really well. So these are all my finished cards, and I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. I hope you enjoyed having fun. It's really quite simple and easy. It is a bit more time consuming because you do have to wait for the glitter to dry. If you choose to use the glitter, you don't really need to use the glitter. But you can switch it up in so many different ways and have lots of fun with your acetate, with your stamps, and get really creative. And it is great fun. So if you've got Sharpies or whatever alcohol pens you've got in your stash, will do. And you can have a lot of fun with this technique and playing around. So thank you so much for joining me. I look forward to seeing you on Wednesday. I hope you had fun. Please do like and subscribe to my videos if you enjoy them. It means the world to me. And drop me a comment because I read every single comment. Even if I don't respond to all of them, I do read them all. Happy crafting. See you next week. Bye.